Good evening and welcome to, I was going to say Omni Bros Live, Omnidog's Vault, Baturdays in the Batcave, where we come to have fun with funny books. It's me, Omnidog, and my buddy, the Minister of Comics. How is it going, Min?
I'm really excited, and I'm excited to talk about some underrated characters like the guy right above me. This guy has not enough books.
I could pick someone else. He was the I don't really have any underrated. Let's see.
Who would you think are like the two most not overused, but really well used characters at Marvel? Probably Spider-Man and Wolverine, I would say.
Those are the two I would say.
And then at DC, I don't think, like I said earlier to you before the show, I don't think Batman gets enough books at DC. I think he could use some more titles.
Some more Batman titles.
But as a huge Batman fan, I will never complain that there's a lot of Batman books, even though some other people probably will.
How about some Jeff Lemire background?
We're doing some DC and Marvel books, though.
How about the Tyler Blunt background?
The Gotcha.
Oh, I love this background. I wish we were doing Star Wars.
Do you still have that like Hall of Justice or Batcave one? We have a cool Batcave one.
Yeah, let me see.
Since it's Baturdays in the Batcave.
Right. Okay.
Remember back in the show used to just be about Batman? Like a year and a half ago?
Oh yeah, Baturdays. Is this the one you're talking about?
That's a cool one.
Is there a Batcave one?
That one's fine too, because it's more of a. It's not focused on Batman. It's more focused on.
Oh, but here's a Batcave one.
I like the other one better, actually.
Yeah, I think we actually sort of you can see us better. Okay, good. Well, hello to the chat. Hi, chat. How you doing? Let's see.
Farhan looks like he's been pretty busy watching your shows today.
Yeah, he was there at the 3 o'clock surprise show because I thought that show was going to be on Maddie's channel. And at about 2 minutes to 3, I said, so when is this show or where's the link? And she said, I thought we were doing it on your channel. I said, oh. So I said, well, we're starting in 15 minutes as I had to set up for it and give people a 15-minute warning that it was going to be on. So yeah, Farhan was on that. Kenny Crayley was there. Let's see. I think Aria was there. Aria, were you there today at 3?
The usual crew.
Yeah.
And Farhan, I guess, is somewhere in the world where it's Sunday, and he describes our video as a bromance couple.
He is in Malaysia, Farhan is. Farhan is a good guy. Everybody here so far, good guys all. Any good gals? Do we have any good gals in the chat?
Oxmeat Pete, I'm pretty sure Gio would agree with you that Aquaman's gotten shifted in the collected editions department. I think, Jess, that was something we talked about a couple weeks ago with you talking about how the Aquaman books went from hardcover to trade paperback mid Kelly Pseudoconics run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gio often is upset that there's only one Aquaman omnibus.
Yeah, thank you, El Denver. I think I totally agree with Oxmeat Pete was there a little bit. Arya, yeah, you were there. Bromance couple. Catman is underused. That is true. But wasn't he like a 1940s character? And what label was he even? Catman. I do remember that. Crazy Jane was there. That's right. Good to see you, Crazy. Nightwing is very underappreciated by his parent company, hoping Tom Taylor turns it around. Oh, is Tom Taylor writing Nightwing?
Yeah, that's his newest title. And he's doing a Batman miniseries with Andy Kubert, so that'd be pretty cool.
More Tom Taylor is good for everyone. Tom Taylor is awesome.
I think my Taylor recommendation of the year to Jess was this Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
You didn't recommend that to me.
I mean, I told you I was reading it, and you said I have it, but I wasn't planning on reading it, and then you read it.
I don't remember it that way. No, I'm messing with you, totally.
I've learned in these past 2 years, Jess, that whenever we have a difference of opinion and memory, I just go with myself.
Yeah. No, you totally recommended it. I read it and I loved it. That was Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. 2 great recommendations.
I just did a post about my favorite Spider-Man book ever on my Instagram page at Minister of Comics on Instagram about Spider-Man life story. I think that's my favorite Spider-Man book just because of how different it is and how people always say with comics they're perpetually stuck in the second act because they can't really finish because you're always going over to the next storyline. Whereas in Spider-Man life stories, the artist is given the chance to actually finish out Peter Parker's storyline, which is very rewarding. But I think Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is right up there in my top 5. I love that series. It was so good.
Top 5 Spider-Man stories?
Yeah, top 5 Spider-Man stories. Up there with Life Story, Superior Spider-Man, Spider-Man Blue, things like that.
Okay, I haven't read Spider-Man Blue. I do love Superior Spider-Man. I loved Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and I'm trying to think of a modern book besides Life Story. Superior is good. I did like it. I'm trying to. I mean, it was a small contained run, so I'm trying to think of what its equal might be. But it had. You pointed it out to me first. It had one of the most heartwarming, heartbreaking, true to life, amazing stories in that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And the premise is really cool. It's what if Spider-Man really lived in your neighborhood? What would your neighborhood be like in the city, of course? And is it going to be Green Goblin attacking and stuff all the time and buildings collapsing? But it really took a human look at him, and like a ground level human look at him. And it was, I thought every story in there, every arc was, first of all, they were funny because they had their random, he's always supposed to be funny, but they were really touching and warm-hearted and made you feel good about reading the book.
I agree that he was actually funny. A lot of people write Peter Parker with really lame jokes that aren't funny.
Right.
I thought Tom Taylor was actually funny in that story.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I agree that Spider Bite issue, I don't want to explain who Spider Bite is as a character, but I think that was one of the best issues of comics I've read in the past 5 years.
I agree 100%.
I think that and the final issue of Dr. Andromeda by Jeff Lemire are the 2 most touching and emotional issues I've ever read in my entire life.
Yeah.
They're both amazing. So everyone, I know it's not a hardcover or an omnibus, but go out and find that run digitally, buy the trade paperbacks. Jess made the sacrifice for us by getting the trade paperbacks. So I'm really hoping for a hardcover. It's not big enough for an Omni. I think it's 15 issues altogether, 14 issues. But that'd be a great hardcover.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping for it.
That. And that is something that I might trade up for just because I love it that much.
And I think Juan Cabal, if that's how you pronounce his name, is one of the most underrated artists in comics. He did that. He also did a lot of. I think he did that one arc on All New Wolverine, which was really good.
Let me get, since we're talking about it, I can put my hands right on it and show people.
It's great to see Gio's in the chat saying that Aquaman is underrated.
I agree with that.
And I guess in Gio's corner too, the Inhumans are also underrated.
Oh, I agree with that.
I particularly like Karnak. He's my favorite Inhuman. He's
awesome. This is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And who are you talking about? Oh, in issue 1, Evil Cabal or Juan Cabal?
I think it's Juan Cabal is his. I mean, I could be pronouncing his name totally wrong, but that's the way I pronounce it. He's fantastic. He did an arc on All New Wolverine with Tom Taylor that was also great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we highly recommend Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Even the other artists who aren't Juan Cabal were also really good. There was no bad art in the entire run.
Right.
And you can't always say that for Marvel and DC books when they have fill-in artists.
No, that's true. I know that's one thing that turned Kristen off about Scarlet Witch. And I understand that. There were different artists for each issue, or each 2 issues, or each arc or something, but there turned out to be an awful lot of artists, and it wrecked the story flow a little bit. But then there was some artists. There was an artist that Kristen really disliked, and it threw her off the whole book.
It must have been a stylistic choice because it wasn't like random fill-in artists. Every issue was by a different artist.
Right.
Which is what Rick Remender's also doing in his newest series, Scumbag. Every issue is by a different artist.
No, Crazy Jane, don't worry. We're not going into the topic. We're talking good comic book runs right now. We'll talk underrated characters much later when we've had 7 or 8 tangents by then.
But for those of you who are watching after this live show is over, Jess will put the timestamp for when the topic starts because not everybody can listen to us wax poetic about random stuff for an hour before the topic starts. So don't worry, we'll make sure that's in the video description later.
Yeah, 100%. So far, let's see. Who said it first? Joe Chip did. Geo is underrated. I don't. Maybe the public. Maybe he's not as popular as he should be with the public. I value Geo highly as a friend and as an Omnibro, but maybe that's true that the public underrates him because he's kind of quiet. He is a great guy though, and I'm really happy he's in the chat.
I've heard Tyler Blunt is an acquired taste, so I don't know how that relates to being underrated, but
lots of people agreeing that Geo is underrated.
Well, speaking of the Geo love, I know we want to have Geo on at some point with an Aquaman episode. So Geo, we'd love to have you on at some point because I know I want to know more about Aquaman and the different runs I need to read. So maybe you can take me to school on a Baturdays in the Batcave sometime.
Yeah, Geo, did you know? Did I never tell you that?
I think it was something we just talked about. We just never moved forward with because we had other stuff we wanted to do. But I definitely do want to do that at some point if Geo's up for it.
Let's see. This says, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Awesome. I meant to highlight this one. Jess, your recent video had a vinyl with the bat symbol. Where was that from? That is from Batman, the animated series, from Mondo. The disc, all it is like 2 songs. It's the opening song and then the end credits or something. I can go get it if you want. I can easily reach it, and I'll just go do that.
And someone, I think Mr. Austin, the one you accidentally highlighted, it's still a good question. Maybe Geo can answer it. Is who should write Aquaman next? And I don't think Aquaman even has a solo title right now, right? I could be wrong. Jess and I are woefully behind on monthly comics. We're like a year behind at all times. So some of our choices for later in the topic might not even be accurate to today. All we could speak to is what we have on our shelves. So in terms of Aquaman, I don't know if Geo can answer that question. I think Chip Zdarsky. I mean, I want Chip Zdarsky to do everything. I just love everything that he does, and he seems to be doing both DC and Marvel at the same time. And he did a good job with Always an Invader with Namor, so he could do a good job with Aquaman.
Sazmurf, is this what you're talking about? It's from the animated series. The A side is main titles and end credits, a total of minute 36. And the only reason I'm telling you this is so you don't spend $85 on eBay for it because it's out of print. And the side B is end credits, alternate beginning, end credits, alternate ending. That also is about a minute's worth of music. Obviously, the cool thing is that it's Batman the Animated Series. It comes in a package like this from Mondo.
That's so awesome.
It was for sale for $25. So use that as your guide if you really want it on Mondo. I'm sorry, on eBay because it's out of stock, out of print on Mondo. And keep in mind that you're not really buying it for the music. You're buying it because it's bat-shaped vinyl.
It's Batman Animated Series, so there's that too.
There's that too. The greatest show ever.
Farhan has a good point about having Ram V do Aquaman. After an interview with Ram V, I'm excited about anything that he does at DC.
Let's see, where is that?
722.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't even read any of his DC stuff yet, but I was excited by everything that he was saying. And all the artwork I've seen of these books looks fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to everything he does because I like his independent stuff.
Yeah.
And did you know that Tom King is writing a Supergirl miniseries?
I think I might have heard that and it bounced off, and I don't think I really retained it today.
Okay. Yeah, Kenny's talking about that.
He's writing a new miniseries called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which takes place during Infinite Frontier. I'm not gonna have anything to say about Infinite Frontier and Future State until September or whenever those collected editions come out.
I'm so behind on everything in terms of recent stuff. It's just waiting for everything to come out in collected edition.
Yeah, when we talked about Marvel underappreciated or underused character, I haven't read any. Well, I just started reading Dawn of X trades, and I know they've started to pull out some obscure characters there for those X-Men titles. Like Goldballs now has a major part in it that he's fertile or something, or
well, he had a big part in House of X and Powers of 10.
Yeah, that's where I read it. Because I read that first, so it could lead me into Dawn of X titles, and but they're bringing out. I could say somebody tonight, and it turns out they've got a whole issue of them in one of those X books. So if I do, you can correct me and just be nice about it.
And by our choices, we're not saying that nothing's been done with the character for 5 or 10 years. We're just saying we wish that these characters would be spotlighted even more because they're that great.
Yeah.
And speaking of great, your Hot Toys looking pretty great right behind you. You finally added some more men to the back, huh? Not just ladies in the back.
That's right. Spider-Man Hot Toys. I've got Negative Suit, Iron Spider, and Spider-Man 2099. And then this is Mafex Superman that Tyler is so jealous of. And then I've had Scarlet Witch for a while.
I like the change up back there.
Sorry?
I like the change up you have behind you. I'm so used to the same statues right there.
That's why I thought it was time for a change, and I put the statues up there. And this way I can play with these guys and move them around and pose them because they're really fun to pose. And I needed them out and displayed if I was going to pose them. The whole reason I wanted a Hot Toy Spider-Man in the first place is because he's so boss to pose.
And so the next couple Hot Toys you have coming in, well, maybe not till next year, you have that Miles Morales video game edition. And what else do you have? Is there anything else?
Is that the one with Spider-Cat?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mandalorian with Child.
Ooh, I know you ordered that one. We kept telling you to get it.
And I did.
All right, good.
I feel like there might be one more thing, but due to lack of space, I don't know. I'll have to look. Batgirl. I feel like there's a Batgirl in my future somewhere.
You're probably right.
I'll check. Marcelo Ramos not happy. Not the same without Gwen. I know, but another reason I put her up there, up on the shelf behind, is because I'm so worried about her umbrella. That thing is notorious for breaking. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's see. What are some of these questions? Here's, oh yeah, Sir Scotty asked me this, I think in on one of my videos. Just do you like older or newer Astro City books more? He hasn't dropped the ball at all. He's not. He also publishes whenever he wants, so I guess it could take him a year or two to write one of these new books. I feel like maybe the first 6, like right up to Dark Ages, and then right after Dark Ages, I'm one of the few that actually likes Dark Ages or the Dark Age. I think the answer to your question is I like his older ones better. There's nothing wrong with his newer ones, though. But I think the more iconic heroes were introduced earlier, if that makes sense.
I want to read that series. There are just so many books you have to track down, and I'm guessing there has to be some that are hard to find. Or am I incorrect?
Um,
Because they're published with different companies at different times, right?
yeah, Vertigo / DC and now DC were making a concerted effort at one point to reprint them all. And it started with the last few and then the first like 3 or 4, but they haven't reprinted the middle ones to my knowledge. And those are the harder ones to find, like Tarnished Angel and Shining Stars. Those are hard to find in hardcover, but I don't know about trade paperback. I've never looked for them in trade paperback. But Shining Stars is one of my favorite books ever. Yeah, there's 17 books, so that's hard to just go out and buy in one swoop.
Yeah, it really is. I love Kurt Busiek when I've read from him. I mean, he wrote like 2 of my favorite books of all time, Superman, Secret Identity, and Marvels. Those are like in my top 10. So that's pretty impressive. 2 books in my top 10. So I really should check more out from him.
Yeah, I think that's a book I could recommend to you pretty much on a blind buy basis because the characters, it explores their humanity or their lack of it. Like there's one character who's based on Barbie. She's like a living Barbie doll. She's very powerful. She's lonely though because she's like a doll that doesn't have any real emotions. And the way the story ends is, I don't know, very touching. That she's a living doll that needs the warmth of her creator. And her expression never changes, like Barbie's expression never changes. And I thought that was a great story. I think you dig it because of the human excuse me, the human emotions are really explored in it in regards to the humanity, the superpowers and the non-superpowers around them. And there's a lot of twists in the story, but they're very relatable, if that makes sense about a superhero book.
So if you were in charge of DC collected editions, you would probably do some Astro City hardcovers.
Yes, I would. I would do. I don't know if I'd do an omnibus. I'd probably do. Well, yeah, maybe I would. There's 17 books. Brett Anderson's art is really good, so I would blow it up. 17. How many books could you fit in there? 5. You could probably get 3 or 4 omnis out of that. I would do that. That might be the second or third thing I did.
People will definitely buy that too. I feel like people are always talking about how much they love that series.
Yeah, and I think the problem is it's hard to find right now, so that's why it doesn't get enough attention.
And Smotlock wants some Gru collections. Have you read Gru yet?
I have a huge chunk of Gru right here.
You fell prey to Tyler's hype, and then Tyler didn't even read them. So
I got a huge amount of Gru that was not that hard to find, and not very expensive, but it's pretty funny. I think I want to put this. I need to redo my 2021 reading goals because I want to include Gru in it. It's really funny, and the artist, Sergio Aragones, and it's really good. And I love that book. Marvel needs another Moon Knight book.
Let's wait to talk about that with underrated stuff.
Okay.
He might be on my list.
DCB's yes service pre-orders are up for March now. Inferno Prologue, Fantastic Four Volume 4, Daredevil by Sue Omni, to name a few. And you're welcome for that, Sue Omni.
Yeah, I'm definitely not trading in my trades. This is I already I don't want to deal with that. I'll just keep my trades.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Are you gonna keep them or are you gonna get the omnibus?
How many
There's
trades?
like 8 of them.
There's a lot, aren't
7 or
there?
8, I think.
Yeah. Is it just volume 1?
It's just one big Omni, which you know that I'm not a huge fan of massive
Yeah,
tomes
no,
like
you
that.
don't
So,
like those big chunksters.
like the Mark Waid ones, if I didn't have the hardcovers of Mark Waid's run, I definitely would have gotten the Omnis because they're both pretty small. But this is a pretty big omnibus from what I've seen.
I don't know. You know, I love thin Marvel trades.
I can see you going either way on that one.
You can what?
I can see you going either way on that one.
Well, this is a Darsky right here.
I'm definitely upgrading for Zdarsky's run though, because I love it. I'm definitely upgrading for my Zdarsky Daredevil trades. I'm definitely getting that hardcover that comes out in a few weeks because I love oversized hardcovers from Marvel.
I do too.
Definitely, I'm just gonna give it to a friend who hasn't read Daredevil in a couple of years, and I'm just gonna get the hardcovers because I need that.
Swamp Thing and Swamp Thing by the two writers went out yesterday, by the way, to you.
Okay, cool. Hopefully that Omni doesn't get canceled at the last minute for you. I'm a shit. We've seen pictures of it. You're good.
Yeah. Omar told me I'm good. He said it's definitely already in the pipeline.
All right, good. Is he actually hearing from DC now?
Sorry?
Is Omar actually hearing stuff from DC?
I don't think so, but I think he's in the pipeline enough with maybe other companies that he's got his hands on material that can confirm stuff for him.
Okay.
There's Farhan. That's true. I just saw the Alias Bendis Omni. It definitely is getting a reprint.
We definitely need to do a crime corner on that at some point because I know you haven't read it.
Right. I definitely do want to read it.
And that was my first omnibus I ever got.
Oh.
I need to read the other Alias books that Bendis did. I think he did some other stuff a couple years ago, like 3 trades from Marvel, I believe. I think Michael Gaidos came back for that.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that new Swamp Thing Omni's gonna be pretty big, isn't it? It'll be a big chunky Omni.
The Swamp Thing Deluxe was big, and then I think I sent you 4 trades of Charles Soules.
Okay.
Sounds like that.
That's gonna be a pretty decent sized book.
Yeah.
Michael Cleveland's asking us about Reckless.
Reckless when?
The plan is that we're going to review Reckless 1 and 2 when the second one comes out next month, and we'll also do Sleeper. So we'll wait on doing both of the books, both of the first books in that series, since they're coming out pretty close to each other. Oh, are they including Pulse in the Alias Omnibus? Interesting. I wonder.
I think I have Pulse the complete collection. Is that what you said, Got?
I'm not sure if it's in it. Someone let us know if they put Pulse in the new reprint, because someone said that omnibus isn't called the Alias. It's not just called Alias. It's called something else, like a longer title or something.
Yeah, I just saw that. How did I just see that?
I'm wondering if they're adding on some extra issues to that.
What was I looking at that showed me that? Huh. I can't remember.
Yeah, Smotlock, I think a lot of people agree with you that Sleeper deserves a reprint. It's too hard to say with DC stuff now. You just never know. They printed those thick trades of Wildstorm Classics. They put out the first volume of Sleeper. I talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't put the second one, so I had to go find Sleeper Season 2, an old trade from years ago, because I guess they're not going to finish it. So I hope they do the right thing, because people need that book in their collection. But
so do you have a complete
I do.
What? How is it? How did you piece it together again?
Here, I'll show you. So they released this a couple years ago. These Wildstorm Classics. I think you have the Midnighter form of this, right?
I do, yeah.
And so they didn't release Volume 2. They never did it. And so I went to a local comic book store and found that same stuff in this older trade. But the thing is that's annoying is they have the same cover.
Same cover.
But I can't complain because I have the whole series, though.
Okay, so that's the whole series.
The entire series. Both of these.
My Omni looks so much bigger than those two trades.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Okay.
They're both pretty thick though. This one's at least 400 pages. This one's probably 250, 300.
Oh, all right.
They're pretty thick. I think it's 20 some issues altogether.
You have Aiku's bringing up a good point about Point Blank. Do you have Point Blank in there?
Yes, it's included in this first one. It starts out with Point Blank, that miniseries.
Okay.
The miniseries isn't by Ed Brubaker. It's by Ed Brubaker, but it's not by Sean Phillips. There's a different artist in the beginning who does that Point Blank miniseries.
Is his name Cycle Cleveland?
I don't think so. I wish, though. It'd be pretty great. So one day, I'm hoping DC will word print that. Who knows? I've stopped trying to guess what DC's going to do.
I'm sorry I'm not one of those billionaires that's getting together to try and buy the DC rights to print the books as Bleeding Cool practically made up. I don't know what they did. Maybe it's true. Maybe a bunch of billionaires did get together and wanted to buy the publishing arm of DC and leave the video, the TV and movie rights to Warner Brothers. I would love to do that. And they'd put me in charge and I'd say, okay, sleeper, reprint, question, omnibus.
Astro City.
4 omnibuses.
Man of Steel omnis.
Man of Steel, raise those things up, make them absolutes. Oh, there's so much. Absolute top 10, reprint immediately.
I've never read that.
Oh, it's so fun. That's one of the most fun things he's ever done. It's just fun.
Usually when you think of Alan Moore, you don't think of fun.
Right.
I can't say that's the first word I think of. I usually think of serious.
Yeah, but like Tom Strong is fun, so is Top 10.
Yeah, I've heard that's a great absolute, but that's been out of print for a while, I think.
Oh, it was, yeah. And Tom Strong is just as fun. And I don't think Tom Strong is that hard to find now, but it is a ton of fun, Tom Strong.
From Hell. What a fun book. V for Vendetta. So much fun.
Here's a good question. Challenging me ethically. If you got DC, would you release the rights to watch him back to Alan Moore? In this scenario, when I buy DC, am I buying like liquid assets, like a bank full of cash that I've already gotten from Watchmen? If I've already got like $5 million, $10 million worth of dosh from Watchmen that I can nest away, then yes, I would give it back to him.
Well, I'm glad they were at least able to make the Watchmen TV show. I think Alan Moore would even like that TV show, to be honest, if he gave it a try.
I don't know about Alan Moore. I don't know what he would like.
I don't know what planet he's even on right now, so I'm not sure. I've heard he's a really nice guy whenever he does actually interact with fans. But
oh, well, that's good.
That's what I've heard.
I heard that More Supreme is a lot of fun, and he did a Wildcats book too that's supposed to be really good for Wildstorm. Batman Who Laughs deserves a root beering as a character. That's the dark multiverse Batman Who Laughs that you don't like?
I think Jess's Batman Who Laughs figures would disagree with you.
I have a couple of them.
I have I know it's not the Batman Who Laughs, but I love that Grim Knight figure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I would definitely do Starman Omnis.
I guess just reprint whatever they did before because they already had those Omnis, even though they weren't really Omnis.
Yeah, there
They're
was
more like oversized hardcovers.
something. J.H. Williams is amazing. How does Prometheia feel? Do you want me to ask her? I don't know. I want to read it, but knowing Alan Moore, I'm worried about understanding it. Well, I'll say this. It's complex, but I understood it. So if I can understand it, you can too.
Oh, Marcelo says the Starman Omnis aren't even oversized. I didn't know that.
Where are those things?
Yeah, Dom says they were standard size hardcovers.
Why am I not looking right at them? I thought they were right there. I must have moved them in a.
Maybe they're with
No.
Hometown hardcovers.
No. They're probably right around the corner.
They're in the annex.
Yeah, I think they're in the annex.
That's usually where everything is.
Oh yeah, they're with 100 bullets and Starman. Starman is size.
Interesting. That you probably shouldn't call those Omnis then.
Yeah, that is odd.
Maybe that was before DC started doing actual Omnis that much. Who knows? I still haven't read that run because those are so hard to find.
Yeah.
And that but now they're releasing it in what do they call it? The compendiums, which I'm not really interested in.
Psycho Seb wants a Lobo Omni. I don't know that much about Lobo. I'll be honest. I only know him through the Superman appearances.
I think Cullen Bunn did a Lobo series.
Wait, is that the New 52 one where he looked like?
I think yeah. Didn't he talk to us about that? I think he talked to us about that during his interview.
Yeah, where he was all stylized and thin and stuff, and looked odd.
Yeah.
I think that.
You like Cullen Bunn though?
Well, it's true, but I don't think anybody really liked that one.
You were big on his Sinestro run, right? Isn't that what you read after that interview?
I thought that was good. Yeah,
I do like Sinestro. Now, he's on my list. That's a character that hasn't really been utilized that much lately, has he? That I know of.
Yeah, Sinestro. I
haven't been keeping up with Green Lantern stuff as much, so I could be wrong.
Haven't either.
Didn't you read the first hardcover of Grant Morrison's latest Green Lantern run?
I did, and it went over my head, so I need to read it again.
Okay. So typical Grant Morrison fare. You have to read it more than once to get it.
Yeah, it wasn't as tough as some of his other stuff, but it had some concepts that I was sort of scratching my head at.
Isn't it like he's trying to arrest God or something?
Yeah.
I heard something about that.
But it's more than that. Yeah, that part was actually easy to understand.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there was a whole universe thing. It was when you give Grant Morrison the whole universe to play with, it got complicated for me. So and I don't mind admitting that sometimes it takes me a couple reads to get a book.
Like Nameless?
Like what?
Like Nameless? Your favorite Grant Morrison book?
That I'm not reading again. I'm pretty sure I gave that away.
Maybe you can go out and get some shrooms or something and read that book.
Any book that comes with a whole list of other books you have to read to understand the book you're reading is way too much trouble.
I mean, that's somewhat true for the his Batman run, because there is like a private case book where you have all these old issues you don't have to go through. I would say it's very helpful to know that those issues, even though you don't have to read them, at least know what they're about. Like Robin Dies at Dawn, Batman of Zor-Anar, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The first time I read that run was probably 6 years ago, and that was right when I got back into comics. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on here. And it was much better the second time after I knew all that information and had a lot more Batman under my belt.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison's books tend to read better with a second read through. I think the ones that are the most user friendly are We 3. That was really good. I really like We 3.
I don't know that I can read that again.
I thought it was really. It didn't. I know that some people kind of can't handle animal abuse stuff. I thought it was a really well done series, though.
The ending was better than I thought it was going to be.
But you can agree it wasn't a book that was hard to understand. It's you
No.
understand what's going on.
Right.
I would say the same for Joe the Barbarian.
Right.
And
I agree with that.
I would say All-Star Superman's better if you know more about Superman, but it's not confusing though. I think it's better if you at least know more about his history than the average person. But it's not confusing.
It's very accessible, I think.
Yeah, I've heard the filth is very confusing. Have you read that?
You'll notice that's not in my collection anymore either.
Did you try it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like that and the Invisibles. I really and I'm sure I'm gonna get jammed up by like Cycle Cleveland or somebody in chat about how great the Invisibles are. And I had no problem with Doom Patrol, no problem with Animal Man, but the Invisibles was tough for me. I had an online accompaniment for the Invisibles that helped explain it to me. Riley's really good at understanding the Invisibles. But the filth I thought was impenetrable. It was basically Ulysses by James Joyce in comic form.
Was it even harder to understand the Nameless, or were they on the same level?
I think filth for me was harder to understand.
His Wonder Woman Earth 1 stuff's very easy to understand too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
I agree that I don't like that there has to be like an asterisk next to a book. Like, hey, you have to read these history books. You have to understand the Dada movement. You have to be high to understand this run.
Yeah.
I know Grant Morrison went through a lot of like personal transformation writing the Invisibles. And that was whenever he made the claim that he went to like a higher plane of being and saw aliens and saw a different dimension or something. So it sounds like he was going through a lot of experiences writing that book. He tried to incorporate it into the book, and it kind of lost some people. But I know a lot of people really love that book, so I'm not trying to badmouth it. I've never read it. Invisibles. I've never read it. I've just heard it's, like you said, very hard to understand.
Well, and and here's Smotlock saying the filth was not hard to understand, and the filth is about the death of a cat, and you know that I'm not coming down on you guys, so you shouldn't come down on me because I didn't understand it. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying I didn't understand it. It's Doom Patrol was awesome, and Animal Man was awesome. His Wonder Woman's awesome. He's written a lot. His new X-Men is what got me into Marvel Comics and X-Men.
That's also very easy to understand.
Yeah,
that's not a confusing story.
Yeah, that is what helped me really like X-Men.
I think
new X-Men.
If the art had been more consistent with new X-Men, it'd be one of my favorite X-Men books. It was just so. Frank Quitely is fantastic. Whenever he was on it, it was fantastic. Phil Jimenez was also great. Chris Bachalo. But whenever you got that Igor Cordley or whatever, it just really took the book in a bad direction for me. Even though the story was still good, the art was just very poor. And I'm not trying to badmouth the guy. Maybe I think it had all to do with deadlines. I think he had to finish a deadline.
Yeah,
and you could tell.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to happen because I don't get high.
Yeah, so it's definitely not going to happen for me then.
And I don't know that I agree with that because I did a lot of studying in college high, and that didn't help me understand it either. my classes in college.
Yeah, but your textbooks probably weren't written by people who were high, so maybe it helps to read something high that was written by someone who's high. Maybe
that would be great if I could have had econ by Morrison. I probably would have understood it.
His book, Super Gods, is really interesting. That book he did about comics.
Oh yeah, I have that book.
It's an interesting book because he splices the history of comics with his own personal experiences. And there's a whole chapter about that experience he had in, I don't know if it was Malaysia or something, where he went to a different plane of existence and saw aliens and things like that. But that's an interesting book.
I don't doubt that those kinds of experiences can happen. I think they have to happen to the right person under the right circumstances. And I don't know that I'm open enough, or maybe I'm not trusting enough, or excuse me, my body was not designed to consume drugs and alcohol well. I mean, if he got that experience, I believe it, that all that stuff happened to him. But I bet if I took those same drugs, I would be in the hospital and or dead. My body doesn't do well with drugs and alcohol. And I don't know how I became an alcoholic when I did so poorly with them. I mean, like 2 drinks would give me a hangover. It's just so stupid. Sorry.
And Farhan said it's Kathmandu, Nepal. So I was wrong. I couldn't remember exactly where it was.
Oh, okay.
I really like listening to Morrison on interviews. He's a really nice guy. He really loves comics, and he's a great interview. So I like a lot of his books. There's some books I don't like by him, but I think overall he's done some really great books.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I need to get that.
Really good.
I need to read that because I remember we were reading Superman by Tomasi. Remember that one arc that had a lot to do with multiversity stuff?
Yeah.
I really got interested in that book. I need to get that.
Multiversity is great. I should read that again this week.
Oh, I need to get that. I think the hardcover is still available.
No. Oh, here's Jesse Saywa calling me out. Legal High, Jess. We remember those Bill High. I still have Batman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
That's one of my top 5 favorite Omni Bros moments, when you opened up that and you're like, what is this? I didn't order this. You called it a pain pill order. That was great.
What are your other moments? Do they all involve me, like destroying things? Like
for some reason, you're involved in all the top 5, and then all at your expense to some degree. I would say top 5 is that with Emily's mom in the chat. Whenever you were showing off that book, and Gabe and Omar were dying laughing. I would say you knocking over your Coke on the laptop.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say the whole tooth thing, because I know how much personal pain and money that cost. But in the moment, it was just shocking. It was just like, oh my gosh, to give that happen. So I'll keep off the top 5.
No, it's fine. There's 4 good Jess moments, and they just happen to be.
The flocked cat dog was also pretty funny. Whenever Gabe showed up with the flocked cat dog when you were talking about how much you wanted it.
That was Gabe's shining moment, I think. And that was early on in his career. But when he sat down with that cat dog at his outside at his grill, and I wanted that thing so badly, and he just sat down with it. That was so funny.
Everyone's saying that Multiversity is still in print. So, Jess, wait until I get it so we can read it together. So we can talk about it. So I definitely want to get that and read that sometime soon.
Okay, good.
I'm very interested.
I really liked it a lot. Somebody mentioned, I think the Collector said he was getting ready to read Bendis Batman. I have Batman Universe on my lap. I'm seeing if Jess is right that Bendis should write Batman. Not only is Batman Universe good by Bendis, this is my opinion only, but Bendis has the best story in Detective Comics 1027, the deluxe that I just read. This book is Bendis' story in this book is my favorite story. I think Bendis should write Batman. I'm going to make a video about that, man.
I really love Batman Universe, but if Bendis does Batman, I would like to see it done with Alex Maleev and have it be a bit darker. I kind of want it to be similar to his Daredevil run. I think Alex Maleev was born to do Batman. Remember his issue he did in Batman 1000? When it was like the Penguin? No. Remember Bruce, an older Bruce met up with an older Penguin?
Oh, yeah.
I knew who you were all. That issue was great. And there's like a splash page of all of Batman's villains, and I love Alex Maleev's rendition of all the villains.
Who wrote that?
Bendis.
Oh, Bendis did.
Yeah, Bendis wrote that. Him and Alex Maleev did that story together. I would just love to see them both doing Batman together. And like I love Batman Universe. It was like a Brave and the Bold, like a really bright, very light story. But if he was to do like a Batman run, I would like to see it a little bit more gritty, like his run with Alex Maleev on Daredevil. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, Taylor, I politely disagree with you, but that's fine. Our friendship will withstand it, but I would like to see Bendis take a lighter tone with Batman, give it 3 deluxes, and then you can hand it off to Dr. Death or whoever you want to write it. Some dark guy, dark writing style guy. I loved Bendis's light touch with him, though.
Everyone's saying they want us to interview Grant Morrison.
Well, that's your job, buddy.
That's an easy get.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We had a good streak there for a while. We have like good streaks, and then we kind of have periods where we don't get anybody for a little bit. But we had a really good streak going.
Yeah, we'll start another one.
I'm sure we will.
Oh, this is a good question because I don't know the answer to this.
To be honest, I've kind of given up on it. There's some other books I want to focus my attention on. Because the first thing that happened was I bought it through IST, but IST didn't have enough, and they oversold, I think, 90 copies. And they let a lot of people, they let a lot of people know that they're not going to get it. So I ordered it through Amazon because it was really cheap. It was cheap because it turns out it was X-Men Sword or whatever, which I got not 1, 2 copies of. And so I said to them, "You're going to let me keep this book, so I'm not sending it back. It's not my fault you keep sending me the wrong book." And I get a refund. So now I have Sword by Kieran Gillen, and I'm not trying to bash it. I just don't really, it doesn't really look interesting to me. I don't think I want to read it. But someone let me know in the chat that's actually a good book because I have it for free. And of course, the one time Amazon sends me a book that's not damaged, it's a book I didn't even want.
Smotlock liked our Cy Spurrier interview.
Well, I think trying to get some of these guys back at some point would be great. I would love to see Cy Spurrier on an interview again at some point.
I think we need to let his anger at DC kind of die down a little.
I meant like in the future at some point. I'm
Yeah.
not going to bring him back right now. Yeah, because the last time we talked to him, Constantine was still going forward.
He was all excited about it.
We both were.
Yeah. See, John Anderson agrees with me. Just for a bit. Just try it. And
Well, I'm not saying I would be against it. I just really want to see him and Alex Maleev do the run together, and Alex Maleev wouldn't suit a light book. His style doesn't really lean that way.
You're right.
And we already have Batman Universe. We've seen his light take on Batman. So I want to see his darker take on it. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Let's start with, where are we? We've been on for almost an hour now.
Yep.
Let's see. Actually, Marcelo has kind of a funny question, a funny statement. You could try to get Dan DiDio. Probably now that he's out of DC, he could answer some questions about their collected editions questionable choices.
I don't think I've heard some interviews with DiDio. I don't think he's on a warpath against DC. I don't think he would ever like try to badmouth them, from what I've heard him say. So I'm not sure how much he would really reveal about certain things.
Here, I'm going to go get something to drink, and I will leave you with this question. Whoop, wrong question. Sorry, Mr. Awesome. It moved on me.
Yeah, so Lloyd Wong wants to see my post today on my Instagram, which is Minister of Comics, where I review comics that I've read. I review some prose novels that I read. I show off any figures or any hauls that I get as well. So if you want to follow me there, that'd be great. So the Stephen King hard case crime book I just read is called Later, and that is a prose book. But Hard Case Crime also does comics as well. They do a bunch of great prose novels from people like Donald E. Westlake, Lawrence Block, Stephen King, Ed McBain, a lot of really great crime writers. So if you're into that kind of stuff, if you read books, read some Hard Case Crime because they're fantastic. Max Allan Collins, who did Road to Perdition, they have some great stuff there. And I agree, Dom. I would love to see some more Stumptown books. I know last year when we had Rucka on, he said they were working on the 5th volume. So I'm hoping that'll come out in the near future, because the fourth volume was all these volumes are kind of leading to a massive confrontation with this main overarching bad guy. So I'm really hoping that Greg Rucka gets back to Stumptown soon.
And I need to see that TV show.
I'm so bummed that show. Oh, is there a part 2 to this dumping of the coke? My wife and I were both disappointed. I mean, you know how it is. It's hard to find shows with our wives that we both like together. And we both really like Stumptown. And the first season wasn't canceled because of bad ratings or bad reviews. It was canceled because of COVID stuff.
Oh.
Because if to shoot second season, it wouldn't work with their broadcast schedule.
Oh.
So there's not going to be a season 2. And it ended on a cliffhanger, which really sucked. It was like a massive cliffhanger at the end. I really enjoyed it. Was like the modern day Rockford Files, which I told Greg Rucka, which is why I love the Rockford Files. I love Magnum PI. And this was the 21st century version of that.
We saw the movie Soul last night. Pixar.
Yeah, my wife and I watched that.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
We loved it.
I thought it was good.
Okay,
I liked it.
Good.
I thought it was good.
You know what we're watching next week?
That movie you want my wife to watch?
No, we already saw that.
Okay, what?
What do you think?
What's that show? Is it The Crown?
No, we haven't seen Downton Abbey, the movie, yet.
Oh, boy. My wife just finally finished all the seasons of The Crown that are available, and I was like, great. I don't have to walk into the room and hear this boring stuff anymore. I wasn't made for shows like Downton Abbey or The Crown.
We watched the preview last night, and we both got visibly excited.
My wife would probably wish that I would like that kind of stuff, but oh well.
I will say that first, we can start. It's 57 minutes and 4 seconds. I'm gonna say first on my list of underrated characters. Wait, I'm gonna write that down. 5703. Jonah Hex. As you could probably tell from the thumbnail, I don't think that they have used. First of all, he got a New 52 book, which was great, but he hasn't had anything put out since that New 52 run got cut short.
That movie really didn't help. I never watched it because I heard it was horrible, but I know that didn't help bolster his popularity. He did have multiple appearances in Legends of Tomorrow, which I know people liked. But I think they definitely need to be doing something with Jonah Hex because they haven't done anything for a while that I know of.
Now, he did have a small standard-sized collection come out a couple years ago, which is good. Maybe it was last year that it came out. That's good, but I'd like to see some new stuff. I'd like to see somebody that knows how to write Westerns and excuse me, he's got a little bit of supernatural Western in him.
Do you know who they should get for a new series? Garth Ennis.
For Jonah Hex?
It'd be like, yeah, because he did something similar with Preacher, like a more like a Western type of thing. He's done some other Western books too. I think Garth Ennis would do a great job with Jonah Hex.
Okay.
Instead of Dastardly and Muttley or whatever, come back and do Jonah Hex.
Ooh. Yeah, I think that he's underrated and underused, and I would like to see him with a good writer, maybe a good up and coming writer, and give him some new supernatural Western tales that are exciting and interesting. I would love to see some more Westerns. I think there are people out there that, excuse me, like Westerns. And I think Jonah Hex is perfect because he's got that sort of supernatural element to him. So Jonah Hex is my first underrated character from DC.
Yeah, I'm someone who loves Westerns, and I think the Western obviously had its heyday for a while. They were kind of like the superhero movies of probably your childhood, I would say, the 50s and 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
The heyday of the Western. And there's still some really good westerns that are put out every once in a while, but they're very few and far between. But there needs to be more western comics. I totally agree with that.
Okay.
And I think that'd be a great DC Black Label maxi series or mini series.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like The Question or the Wonder Woman Dead Earth. That'd be a great mini series to come out of Black Label because it could be very adult, but very violent. That could be a great addition to their line.
Right.
Well, I agree that Brubaker would be great. I agree that Brubaker would be great on Jonah Hex. He'd be great on anything, but I think you're right, Smotlock. I don't think he's doing any more DC or Marvel stuff again.
Right.
All right. So should I go to my next one?
Yeah. How are we going to do this?
Well, do you want to go through yours and then I go through mine, or do you want to do?
I'm fine to do whatever you want to do. Go through. Tell me who your first underrated DC character is.
Midnighter. I love Midnighter.
I love Midnighter.
I love Midnighter and Apollo, but I love Midnighter by himself too. I love Garth Ennis' take on Midnighter when he went back to kill Hitler. that was a great arc that I greatly enjoyed. The Authority is one of my favorite series ever. I love Warren Ellis's Authority. I still need to read Ed Brubaker's Authority, which I know you really enjoy.
Yeah.
I still need to read that. I also still need to read Steve Orlando's Midnighter book. But I just love that character so much. And they did do him a little bit ago in that not Stormwatch, the Wildstorm reboot. But I would love to see them do another take on Midnighter, like a solo book or a Midnighter and Apollo book. Yeah. I just think it's a character that needs more in his corner. I think there's so many more stories that need to be told, especially with all the other Authority characters too. And I looked at that Wildstorm universe is gone right now because obviously the Warren Ellis stuff, but I think it's kind of died on the vine. But I would love to see more stuff in the Wildstorm universe. Those are some of my favorite characters. I think the Authority is one of my favorite teams of all time.
I agree.
For superheroes.
Just a sec. My next one would be The Question, even though we just had a book by Jeff Lemire out, who I think got it exactly right. I would like to see more classic Vic Sage Question, and whoops. There we go. I'd like to see more. First of all, I'd like to see The Question collected properly from paperback into something like hardback. But I'd like to, since Jeff Lemire showed that he had a good working knowledge of Vic Sage as Question, I'd like to see more of that Vic Sage Question used. I like Renee Montoya as the Question, but she's kind of ever present now. So since Lemire showed that he has a good feeling for it, I'd be interested in knowing what the sales numbers were for that book, and hopefully they were good, so that we could get, oh my gosh, it would be great if we could get Lemire on an ongoing Question book, because I think Question is a complex character that was never really understood by the readers, or maybe even the editors. So that's who I would pick.
And they definitely need to reprint that Denny O'Neil stuff. That's for sure. I'm surprised that they haven't done that already, because that's a book I know people really want.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one would be, I really love the New Gods. I just love all. I think especially Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, because you know how big of a fan I am of Mr. Miracle by Tom King, and I love their marriage, and I think that was one of the best marriages I've ever seen in comics. And I know Tom King's not going to come back to those characters, but seeing them have something like another series following them would be great, or even like a New Gods, like Game of Thrones type of series would be awesome. I just love all those characters, like Orion, Highfather, Darkseid. I think it'd be really cool to have a series focused on all those characters and not bring Batman or Superman into that. I think it'd be really, really cool. So I really hope they do more with the New Gods, and I'm sure they will if that New Gods movie actually comes out. That's written by Tom King.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point they'll probably do some more New Gods books. But I'm really hoping that happens soon.
That would be really good.
It's hard to imagine Mr. Miracle by Tom King being topped for me because I love it so much, but it doesn't have to be topped. Just having some good stories in Mr. Miracle and Big Barda would be great.
Yeah.
So that'd be my next choice.
Okay. This next choice may seem gratuitous, but I want to get more into her personal life and background, and not she's used sort of cheesecakingly, if that's a word. I'd like to see her a little more serious. Harley Quinn used her a lot, and this is Power Girl. She's a character that sort of got brought over from Charlton and mushed together with Superman. So I'd like to see her like with a real DC kind of background that fits into everything. And I don't know if she'd sell enough on her own. She did really well with Harley Quinn. Those guys wrote Power Girl and Harley Quinn well together. I'd like to see her not necessarily like Watchmen serious, but I'd like to see if there's any kind of support for her being used as a humorous character or used as a serious character, but try her out in some kind of capacity for either herself or a small super team and see if she gets any support, because I think her character could be interesting depending on the writer.
Yeah, so my next choice would be Slam Bradley. That's a character I so want to see more of. Everyone know, if you watch this show long enough, you know I'm into crime stuff, you know I'm into private investigator stuff, and I love Slam Bradley and Ed Brubaker's run of Catwoman. He's just a fantastic character that hasn't been utilized in a very long time that I can think of. Can you think of anything besides that Catwoman run recently? Because that was how many years ago? Almost 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if he's been really in anything besides that. But I really want to see Slam Bradley be the next 12-issue series that Tom King does. That would be fantastic. That would be a great – because I know Tom King's a big fan of noir movies from the 50s. I think he'd be a great pick for that. So please bring back Slam Bradley in some capacity. It's too bad. I would love to see a Darwin Cook take on that character. Obviously, it's not going to happen because he's no longer with us. But he was the definitive artist for that character. So I definitely want to see more Slam Bradley in the future. I mentioned that to Ram V in our interview. He's like, I love that character too, but he's not really going to work with my sensibilities on Catwoman right now. He's like, I'm trying to make it a more modern take, and Slam Bradley's more of like a throwback take. But maybe someday Ram V can do something with Slam Bradley. So I would love
that. Slam Bradley. I think he was like in the first Action Comics #1.
Did he have comics coming out when you were younger, Jess, like in the 60s?
I only knew him from the fact that he existed back in the late 30s and early 40s, I think. I don't remember any kind of modern take on him in the Silver Age.
Okay.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I really don't remember that.
If I could have one series from DC, it would be this series.
Slam Bradley.
That's what I really want. I really want Slam Bradley.
And you are basing it on his Catwoman Brubaker run?
Yeah, I just love the way he was done in that. Yeah. I just think he was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved everything he did in that series. And I think he's a really interesting character. It's cool to have like a noir detective in the DC universe. And I think that could be a really interesting mini, maxi, or ongoing series. Either all the above would be fantastic to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh. Let's see. Wait, here's a good Killer Frost is a good underrated character. Before the Flash TV series, she was used barely at all. I liked Killer Frost in Flash, and I liked how they used the existing personalities on Earth 1 and made them different on Earth 2 or wherever they were. That Killer Frost was an interesting character, I think. I agree with that, Kenny.
So who would your next choice be?
Aiku, you know me better than that.
It's funny that I know you and Tyler were talking about how you love Gwenpool and he likes Squirrel Girl, whereas you don't like Squirrel Girl and he doesn't like Gwenpool that much. So you both kind of like the different characters.
Right. She gets a lot of attention in Justice League Dark, but I want to see her get more attention, and that's Zatanna. I loved the Paul Dini books on her. He got her and gave her a personal life that was interesting and fun, and put her on kind of a crime-solving, mystery-solving path. And I feel like Paul Dini really did it well. The art was great in those books, so I'd like to see Zatanna used a little bit more, even though she does have a starring role in Justice League Dark. I'd really like to see her I don't know, something meatier maybe. I don't know that she can support her own comic, but I feel like she deserves the treatment that Batwoman got in Tynion's Detective. Like, she should be taking over Justice League Dark the way Batwoman took over Detective. That's what I'd like to see.
I agree. Have you read Paul Dini's?
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. How is that?
I think it's great.
Is it like a mini series? Is it all the stuff he's written on Zatanna? Like, what is that? I think it's like a big trade, right?
That's how it came out. I got it back in the old days when they were this has been reissued now into a bigger trade. I don't know that Everyday Magic is available, but these two, Zatanna the Mistress of Magic and Shades of the Past, these got, I think, put into a complete collection. Dini really has a good working knowledge of Zatanna. I found him that he wrote her really well, and she's always been sort of placed in a box in a nightclub and stuff, and he got her out of there and out into the world and solving crimes and stuff out into the real world, and I found it really good. This is another book I think I want to read this week. I really like this book. Oh, it's got art by Cliff Chang in it. Yeah, so I really like the Zatanna book.
I definitely want to check that out. I love the Zatanna episode on Batman Animated Series, which I hope you'll get to at some point soon. So my next pick would be X-23, which I mentioned earlier. I love All New Wolverine. I can't wait for that Tom Taylor omnibus to come out. Is it next month, or I think it's in April, right, Jess?
April.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. I didn't get the trades. Jess jumped on that grenade for me so I can get the trades, because I mean the hardcover. We all know that Jess gets the trade, so eventually an omnibus will get made. And there was a Mariko Tamaki series that came out. Have you read that, Jess?
X-23s?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
How would you say it is in comparison to Tom Taylor's run? I know it's hard to ascend to the heights of that run, but
yeah, she's a lot different than he is. She's an awful. It was still interesting. I don't know that it had the sense of playfulness and fun, but it was still very interesting.
And I really liked her origin story by Kyle and Yost. I have the X-23 complete collections. So this character has gotten love. I'm not saying she's not popular. She hasn't had great books, but I would just like to see more. I know she doesn't have her own solo series right now. I think she always deserves a solo series. I think Laura Kinney has really set herself apart from Wolverine, and Wolverine's one of my top 3 favorite characters ever. So I think she's much different than Wolverine. I love the take that they've had with her. So I think she definitely deserves more solo titles in the future. I think she has a part to play in the X-Men universe right now. I think she was in a series that was canceled though, like a part of a team. So I'm not sure what role she really has in the X-Men. And Jess and I mentioned at the top of the show, we're not really up to date on current comics because we're trade waiters. So I can't really speak to what's being done with her right now. But I definitely want to see more from her.
Yeah.
Who would your next choice be, Jess?
Phantom X. I don't know what role he's playing, if any, in the Dawn of X series or X of Swords, but I thought he was the most interesting thing in Uncanny X-Force. I'd like to, and I think he was in New X-Men too. I really would like to see a lot more of him and see a lot more of some of the stuff that he is capable of with that little Eva system that has the little, the globe that follows him around. I think he's fascinating, and I would love to see a lot more.
And yeah, I mean, Uncanny X-Force, his stuff in New X-Men. I think was he on some other team books that you read, Jess? Like, was he in X-Men Blue or X-Men Gold or something?
You know what? I don't actually know because I didn't read those books.
Okay. But I agree. I also think he's a fantastic character. So my last choice, I think it's my last choice. Let me check my list. Yeah, my last choice would be, again, I think this is probably the most popular out of my list, but I don't think he has a solo title right now, and that's Moon Knight. And as you can see above me, I just got a Moon Knight figure in.
Nice.
He's on my street level Marvel hero display. And I love all the books I've read about him. I never read the Bendis stuff. I know a lot of people don't really like that one. I haven't read the old school stuff, but I love the Warren Ellis miniseries, the Cullen Bunn stuff. I really like the Jeff Lemire. I think the Jeff Lemire run is my favorite Moon Knight so far. And I've liked all the books I've read with Moon Knight. And I'm looking forward to the Marvel Disney Plus Moon Knight TV show.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to do a new Moon Knight series based on that TV show, like based on the success of that, to lead up into that TV show. I'd be very surprised if they didn't do a Moon Knight reboot. Not a reboot, but again, starting with a new number 1.
I'm trying to think of the last one besides Lemire that I've read. I know that they're redoing some of his epics that have been out of print, but those are the ones that just came out in omnibus form. So those are the earlier ones.
Did you get the newest omnibus that just came out?
I did. I just got it in.
I know Tyler was reading it, and he posted that picture of Moon Knight talking about taxes. I know he loved that part. But yeah, that era isn't exactly in my area of interest, so I'm not going to pick that up. I can't speak to how good it is or not. So
yeah, that's more my thing. I can see how that's not going to be your thing. But yeah, I think Lemire's Moon Knight is the last new Moon Knight we've got. Moon Knight before him was like Ellis, Bunn, and Brian Wood, and those were 3 really good arcs. So he's kind of on a good streak where he's had good writers writing him. So I'd like to see that continue. I haven't heard any plans, so I don't actually know. But I love Moon Knight, and so I'd love to see somebody really good like any of those 4, Ellis, Bunn, Wood, Lemire, any of those guys. I'd love to see him give it another shot.
I'm really interested to see where the show goes too. I mean, I think everyone kept hoping that there'd be a Netflix series, which never
Oh,
came. I'm really
yeah.
excited to get the Disney Plus series, but I'm really hoping they bring back like Daredevil and they bring back those street level heroes back to the back to the Marvel universe. I would love to see Charlie Cox come back as Daredevil. I love that show, and I was so gutted whenever they canceled it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. Luke Cage second season wasn't good to me. I didn't like the Iron Fist stuff at all. Jessica Jones season 3 wasn't good to me, but I think Daredevil was consistently good all the way through. So I at least want to see him come back and John Bernthal as the Punisher come back.
I haven't seen any Punisher.
I really like this. I mean, I think the second season wasn't as good as the first one, but I really liked that first season. Did you watch the second season of Daredevil?
I started it, but it's been so long I've forgotten it. I might as well go back and try and start over.
I really like all the seasons of Daredevil were great, but season 1 in particular was fantastic. I really like season 2. John Bernthal is a perfect Punisher, so you definitely should check it out.
Yeah,
even though it's not going to have any more going forward. I think Daredevil season 3 actually ended in a perfect way, but there doesn't have to be more. So I'm thankful it at least ended on a clean note.
Yeah. Let's see. My next choice, and well, of course, I love Angela. I love Angela, and I'd like to see her worked into more. She was just in that Strike Force book, which was not good. Same with Hellstrom.
Who was the team in Strike Force?
I did. Did I actually keep that? It was like. Okay, let me see if I can do this. It was Hela and not Hela. I always say that. Angela and Spider-Woman and Blade and Hellstrom, and I feel like a couple others. And it was just sort of really not that well done. And those are some really good characters, and I'm looking for it right now because here it is. Oh, and Monica Rambeau and Wiccan. Oh, and Winter Soldier. Okay, so you could take any of those characters really and say they're underused and use them more. But there was, and I'm not going to come up with the answer right now, but one of the things that I'd like to see more of is before this, there was Hellstrom appeared in a group book, and I can't think of what it was called, but Hellstrom, and he was really well written. His dialogue was really snappy and really smart, and I can't think of what the team book was. That's the Damien Hellstrom I want to see more of. Damon Hellstrom, because he was really sharply written. So that's who I'd like to see more of. Is that sharply written? It was not in this book. It was in something else.
Isn't like the Warren Ellis stuff considered not that great? I think Warren Ellis even said.
Even Warren Ellis said, "Why are they publishing that?" Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Hellstrom TV show was pretty bad from what I've heard too. I didn't hear anything good. I think it was a Hulu TV show. I don't remember hearing anybody say that was good, and that kind of didn't really get any press whatsoever. So that's all my choices for tonight. For underrated Marvel and DC characters I want to see more of.
Sorry?
Those were all my choices for underrated.
Yeah, those were all my choices too. So those are our choices tonight for underrated, underutilized Marvel and DC characters. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching us. We enjoyed doing the show tonight. And I am Omnidog, and this is the Minister of Comics, and we say peace and love, peace and love. Thank you very much for tuning in.